There's something happening right now in the Spokane housing market that doesn't quite fit the normal pattern. And no, I'm not talking about a crash. I'm not talking about prices free falling like we've seen in parts of Texas or Florida. It's something more subtle, something most people aren't paying attention to, but it's shaping what's next for our market in a big way. If you're thinking about buying or selling a home in Spokane right now, this is the shift you need to understand. Because what is happening is creating new opportunities for buyers who know where to look and new challenges for sellers who don't adjust to the new rules of the game. I'm Haydn Halsted, your Spokane real estate resource. My team helps people buy, sell, and relocate all over Spokane. So if that's on your radar, you can call, text, or email me anytime. And before we dive in, make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel and keeps you up to date on everything happening in the Spokane housing market. All right, let's dig in. For years, Spokane felt like the little engine that could. Prices were climbing fast, fueled by relocation buyers from Seattle, Portland, and California. And then 2023 and 2024 hit and everything slowed down. It wasn't a crash, but just a long exhale. Now, here in late 2025, something unusual is happening. Our inventory keeps climbing into the fall months when it usually cools off. Right now, we've got 2,235 active listings in Spokane County. That's residential and condos combined. And that's more homes for sale than we've seen in years, and about a 28% increase in supply compared to last fall. We're sitting at 3.7 months of inventory countywide, up from 2.9 months this time last year. That might sound small, but it's the difference between a seller's market and a more balanced one. And yet sales are actually up. So far this year, we've had 5,836 closed sales, which is up 2.5% from last year. So more homes are for sale and more homes are selling, but homes are taking longer to sell. 25 days on average this year compared to 17 last year. The sale to list price ratio is basically flat, 96.6% versus 96.7%. So that tells us that buyers have more choice. Sellers still have a little bit of leverage, but pricing and presentation now make or break your sale. So let's break apart the different areas of Spokane and Spokane County and see how each micro market is reacting right now. So looking at the city of Spokane, the median home price sits at just under $409,000, up 2.2% year over year. Supply is up 21% at 3.3 months. New listings are up 11% and closed sales are up 3.5%. Now that gap between new listings and closed sales is what's driving the month supply of inventory to continue to rise. And now it feels like the market is slowing, but it only tells a part of the story. We just listed a home at 2624 West Wabash, an updated rancher with a shop in the back, and the seller priced it competitively, analyzing what was currently on the market instead of what had sold months ago. And within 3 days, we had 3 offers and ultimately sold it for $20,000 over asking. Meanwhile, other similar homes nearby have been sitting for weeks or even months, and that's the power of strategy over emotion. Now, if we head just east to the Spokane Valley, this area has been pretty steady. The median price is $449,000, up 2.3% from last year. Inventory has climbed sharply though, 3.7 months now, which is up 70%. So last year they were having a really good year in the low 2 months of inventory, and now that has almost doubled. So new listings are up slightly and sales are flat. So we really haven't seen that many more homes come to the market. We've just seen a lot less buyers in the Spokane Valley. So the valley takes some patience. Homes are selling, but buyers are taking their time. The neighborhoods are quieter, the lots are a little bit bigger, and buyers want space without heading into Idaho. So there's no panic here. It's just a slower, more thoughtful pace. Over in Liberty Lake, we're seeing the first real signs of cooling market. Median price sits at $515,000, which is down 6.4% from last year. Inventory is up 37% at 2.8 months, and sales are down 4%. If you bought new construction here in the last couple of years, you know how tough it is to compete with active builders. They're still offering incentives, and that puts pressure on resale homes. I tried listing a home here at a realistic price, but lost it to another agent who priced it higher, and now it's been sitting on the market for over 100 days with 2 other identical homes on the same block. And that's why pricing it right from day one is everything. Heading out west to the West Plains, combining Airway Heights, Medical Lake, and even out towards Reardon and Davenport, things are quietly improving. Median price is $400,000, up 2.6%. Inventory is just up slightly and sales are up 2%. So it's not a flashy market, but there is some momentum there. And you can see it in the investments coming in. There's an announcement for a new sandwich shop, Taglier Sandwich Co., which is a really popular sandwich spot in Missoula, Montana, opening up a spot in Airway Heights. And East Pan Asian cuisine actually won Epicurean Delight, which is a very high-end food and wine night fundraiser here in Spokane. And they are actually based in Airway Heights as well. So they took home the grand prize. So people are betting on this area long term, and it's still one of the more affordable places to buy near Spokane. Now, the one part of the county really feeling the slowdown is North Spokane, the Meade, Colbert, Chattaroy, Deer Park markets. The median price is $490,000, up 3.3%, but supply has jumped to 6.5 months, and that's up almost 73%. So we've got listings stacking up, even competitively priced ones. I've got a listing in Colbert right now that's below the competition and still getting minimal showings. It's just a slow market at the moment, and these areas tend to move in cycles, and once rates drop or builder inventory clears, we'll likely see it rebound pretty strong. But speaking of builders, construction is slowing dramatically. The Journal of Business reported that total building permit values in Spokane are down 44% year over year, $650 million last year to $362 million this year. The number of housing units permitted has been cut in half, just 572 units this year versus 1,211 last year. Single family permits dropped from 214 to 115, and multifamily projects are down nearly 50%, and not a single mixed use project has been permitted this year. So even though resale inventory is rising, the pipeline for future housing is shrinking, which means supply could tighten again next year. So with things changing constantly and a tight housing market, you might be curious what your home is worth, and if you want to know, you can just click the link below for a quick estimate. So let's talk about what's happening in the broader economy because it's all connected. At the Spokane Economic Forecast, Avista's chief economist pointed out something interesting. Our labor market looks fine on paper, but it's not healthy underneath. If not for healthcare, we'd be negative in job growth, and even healthcare may be in a short-term bubble. Unemployment is stable, but businesses have slowed or frozen hiring, and that's why so many people say it feels harder to get a job, even though the data says otherwise. When business confidence dips, housing always follows. So here's just a few anecdotes from my life as a realtor here currently and some things I'm seeing in my own business. So recently we had a seller who went under contract with a buyer about over 2 months ago. They refused to make any of the repairs that were requested by the buyer. And so that buyer canceled the agreement and moved on. Now the home's been sitting for months. They've received another offer and turned it down, even though it was only $5,000 under asking. And so at this point, they've basically missed their window to sell this year because they were not flexible on the amount of money that they were going to make from their sale. Now that is a personal decision, but those are things to know if you are a seller in this market to have. If you don't have any flexibility on the number that you want to receive in your pocket, then this is probably not the market for you. We had a listing that we took over from another agent that couldn't sell it. We had reduced the price a little bit. The seller was very much thought her home was worth a higher number than the current market would allow. But we finally accepted an offer at $425,000, which she was happy with. But after a long process working with our buyers, and I could go very deep into this whole situation, but we got to the appraisal. When the appraisal came in 10% low, it was a $41,000 gap. And so appraisers are seeing this as a down market right now. And so on the seller side, even though you have a certain number you want to hit, an appraiser is still going to come in and determine what true market value is for your property. But we were able to negotiate in that situation. Our seller was not necessarily stuck with what the appraisal came in at. We were able to negotiate that the buyer pays $16,000 above the appraised value. So both sides compromised, but we worked hard in order for that buyer to come up because why would any buyer in this market pay above the appraised value? So anything that they paid above it was definitely a win for the seller. So I am finding the Spokane market is not necessarily crashing, but it is rebalancing. Inventory is up, but sales are pretty steady. Prices are holding, even though appraisers are kind of stepping in and determining where value is. But sellers definitely have to step up to the plate and make sure their home is actually worth what they want it to be worth. So while some uncertainty lingers in the Spokane market, this correction is healthy and it's what keeps the market sustainable long term. So if you're buying, there's opportunity, and if you're selling, there is demand. You just have to understand which side of the curve you're on. I'm Haydn, Halsted, your Spokane real estate resource. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're thinking about buying, selling, or relocating here, call, text, email me anytime. All my info is down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.